Hello, and welcome to another episode of Raise the Bar. I am Troy Haines, your host, a former UCLA high jumper and now longtime coach. Losing track of how many years, I'm still a little bit short of 40 years, but that's coming up fast. I've coached football and track and field. Inside of football, I've coached offense, defense, special teams. I think when you coach football, you tend to do a lot of it, especially at the lower levels. And then, as you get to be more masterful of your craft, you may ascend to being an offensive or defensive coordinator or a head coach or something like that, or you can just be a position coach. And when I say just a position coach, that is not meant as a slap on anybody, because just being a quote unquote just a position coach is definitely a very important job. A lot of things involved with that, and very high level coaches doing that. I've also coached inside of track and field, high jump, long jump, triple jump, pole vault, and have, given a little bit of advice to sprinters and hurdlers as well. Here on Raise the Bar, we tend to talk high jump more than anything else. And right now, at the website that you will find, if you go to Instagram and look at the bottom of the link, you will see skyhighandflyjumplab.com. We have changed the name from Sky High and Fly Jump Camps. Started mentioning a little while back as I was talking with the kids that we're kind of experimenting on them. And so we started calling it something different, because I literally a couple times would just say, on films as I was videoing somebody, that say, hey, we're in the lab today. We're going to try to experiment on how to help your knee drive or whatever. So that is pretty much the way that I'm approaching these things. So here on Raise the Bar, you'll note that I don't have a system. I don't have a tried and true way to fix everybody. If I did, it would be great. I'm sure most people just say, dial me up and plug me in and let me watch what you want me to watch, do what you want me to do so that I can jump higher. And that would be wonderful, kind of like the Matrix, right? Just plug in and let your eyes twitch a couple times and go like Neo and go, I know Kung Fu, which would be great. But we're not in a virtual reality world. So you still have to learn and apply and watch and train. So inside of that, we are constantly trying to upgrade our abilities, how to run a curve, how to accelerate, how to lean, how to cycle, how to do all kinds of things. And what I thought I would do today is take a look at arguably one of the greatest high jumpers ever. I don't think it's really a big argument. Most people, if you told them you were thinking that this guy might be one of the greats of all time, they wouldn't argue with you, because it is Barshim, Mutaz Essa Barshim, who won the Olympic gold medal in 2021. He shared the gold with Tamberi from Italy. He has jumped 2 meters 42 or 3, I think 3, which is 7'11" and a half. And I'm not sure how many times, but I believe he's done it more than even Sotomayor did. Sotomayor, of course, jumped 245, which is still the all-time record, which is 8 feet and a half inch. I do believe that Barshim has tried or attempted higher than that, like 8'1", something like that. But he is technically one of the best I've ever seen. And I thought it would be useful if we went through and, I've done this before with my jumpers, with Barbara Choka from Canada. We had started working together, and she'd probably come to like 3 jump sessions, and she asked me, when I'm breaking down video, what do I look at? And I literally gave her about a page of stuff, starting with the first part of the approach, the straight part, second part of the approach, the curve, the third aspect of the jump, which is the takeoff, the fourth aspect, which is flight, which is directly affected by 1, 2, and 3, your flight pattern. And then the fifth part, which is the layout. And she was blown away by how much stuff there was that she had been getting from me already, things that I notice and try to attack. With that said, there's just a lot of things to cover, it's hard to do a crash course. Some people may pick up things faster than others, whatever, but it's an amazing amount of stuff. And some of it may be a little bit esoteric, a little bit, tiny. Some of it may be basic but huge. When you say basic, it means kind of integral, right, to jumping with good technique. So anyway, let's just jump in and see what it is that we're dealing with here. I just have this one video. We're going to go through that, and that's going to be it. And here we go. So we are sharing screen. You guys can see what I'm seeing here if you're watching on YouTube. Again, if you are watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and raise our subscription numbers. I'd like to bring you more podcasts with track and field guests, really looking to get some of my famous athletes that I know from UCLA, some that I don't know, and just hope to get former coaches and athletes like that. Also just world-class high jump, long jump, triple jumper, pole vaulters, both new and old. And so anyway, here we go. Let's back them up. Here is Barshim. I don't know where this is. I'm going to say, I think it might've been one of the Olympics just based on that background, but I'm not really sure. And you'll notice one thing right away with him, when we're talking about the first part of the approach, he's running straight here. And then you can see a transition where he's on the curve. I believe it starts about here. The first part of his approach, I believe he hits his mark there because he's just kind of counting his steps a little bit. But if you notice, there's a distinct shift right there to where he just powers up and goes boom. Then we've got 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So an 8-step approach. I could be wrong though. I've seen some of these guys change their approaches over time. But I see a definite. Right here, he's just kind of what I call skitter stepping. Now he's going pretty fast when he's doing that, but he's not really engaged in full stride. So right here, you see him really open up. Boom, high cycle, foot kicks in the butt, knee comes up. So to me, that's full stride. All these other ones are just pitter patter steps. His knees aren't up. He's just picking up speed. He hits his mark here, and now it's 1, 2, 3 straight. All right. Now inside that 3 straight, you'll notice again, high knees here and feet kicking him in the butt every single step. Once he started from right there, the knee was up. And that one's kind of a power boundy one, but he still cycles that foot up to right below his butt. This one's even bigger, right? And that one's even bigger. Now we've got our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice on the curve, that number is not set, by the way. Some people teach 4 and 4, if you can do an 8. Some people just go 4 steps on the curve. I have trouble with it, but I know that there's enough variation in high jumpers that I think I prefer to teach a 5-step curve. Let's just put it that way. I think it's easier to change direction and drop into a curve pushing with your outside foot. Some people could come up with great arguments, I think, for doing a 4-step curve. Let's say if it was Barshim here, that you would start that curve after hitting on your left foot, and then you would go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? If you were still going straight. Sometimes it could just be kind of an argument on where you're leaning. Did you actually start the curve yet? I think some people would say they're doing a 4-step curve, that I could make the case that they're actually doing 5, but it doesn't really matter. Okay. On the straight part of the curve, all we're really doing is picking up speed and accelerating. And here you see Barshim high cycling, but Derek Brown power bounced through there, and so did Sotomayor, and they did not cycle their feet. But once you get on the curve right here, okay, he's going to start the curve after this step. So that's his right foot. And here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. As he's starting his curve, notice the cycling maintains. He's running very tall. His knees are up pretty good for someone moving that fast. And okay, he cycles all the way through. So what you can see are a couple of things that I'm looking for. First of all, notice when his foot hits the ground here, that his upper body is lined up with his leg pretty closely. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn close. And I don't have an exact lean back angle here, but I'm going to say at least 20, 25, possibly even 30 degrees. What we can't see from this angle, I call this lean back, but it really depends on where you're looking. I'd like to get cameras that are going straight down the line. And by the line, I mean the plane of the bar. If you're looking straight down that line and you happen to be right where the jumper is, you can tell how much he's leaning away from the bar plane itself. As a straight up number, it's a perfect shot, 90-degree angle, right? You can also, if you're swing the camera around to where you're looking straight at the standard, and again, preferably here, straight at the plant foot of Barshim, you would see how much he was leaning, what I call leaning back, because you're doing it in 2 dimensions. Okay, so here he's creating a tremendous amount of lean and speed, which keeps his head, if you notice, if I draw, you can see the cursor right here, the cursor going straight up from where his foot is, his head is significantly behind that, okay? And what that means is he has a chance to stop his forward progress and for his head to stop and go up, to start climbing the ladder here. Okay, notice that one arm's behind him already up and the other one's in front of him already up. He technically does not have his hands below his hips. And I would argue here that this makes him more of obviously a speed jumper than a power jumper. I would love to hear your arguments and comments. I'd love for you to send me, DM me on Instagram, Sky High and Fly Jump Lab. If you have questions, comments about this particular, what we're doing here, breaking down a great jumper, and your comments on speed versus power. We've done this before, but we love going over it again. And so if you watch his arms right here, you can see that he's reaching back behind him, and then they come firing forward, but they're really above his hips. So he's getting a very short, fast arm strike. And that's what, to me, makes it think that he's more of a speed and lean jumper, which is almost, it's really hard for me to say that he's a hybrid of a single armor and a double armor, because he's obviously using 2 arms here. But most double armors don't move this fast. And therefore, their arms are moving really quickly. And it's hard for him. If you watch him as he's coming into this, he gathers his arms very quickly. There's right here, you can see both arms come together. So up until that time, he's running. And we all know when we're running, one arm's running and the other one's doing something else. It's one arm's forward, one arm's back. We're going like this, right? So when all of a sudden he stops that and he says, hey, I want you guys, your arms to work together, he does what we call a gather, and he brings them right below his chin, mid-chest there. Now they're going to reach back together and come up together. So he has changed from an athlete who is running fast, and we know single armors run really fast like this and lean back just like this, and this one arm will be up already. And he's not going to use that one for takeoff. It's just for making you taller. And it's because basically you're running so fast, you don't even have time to get your arms together. And so here he actually gathers at high speed. And he did what I used to do in high school, which is if he's starting his curve here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, starting his curve here, I would go 1, 2, gather, and jump. And so you can see he kind of does that, and he's doing it really quickly. I mean, this happens in a blur. You can see the video here is blurring already. 1, 2, gather, and jump. Okay, so his arms are together. Now, since he's moving so fast, I don't think he really can lower down and drive his hands from below his hips and up over his head, which sometimes you will see because his arms are at 90 degrees. He's moving really quickly. And so boom, boom, right here. All right, great lean back and all that. Now, one of the things of note that I see here is foot plant angle. To me, from this angle, his foot looks like it's almost parallel to that line, which is running straight out from the standards. it's not going across. It's on the other side of it. There's a little bit of room. There's a little bit of torque here, but I would say it's at least a 45-degree angle. So he's pointed at the back left corner of the pit. And you'll notice that when he goes up and over, it is in a really tight radius. He goes over in between the standard and the first half of the bar. I would not say that he's in the middle of the bar. I would say he's in the first third of it from his side. So that's pretty amazing. And that means his trajectory is not traveling down the bar. It's more kind of going north and south. Those of you football fans, you know what we mean by somebody who's running north and south. They're just going straight, almost straight at the bar. Now, he's not, because you can see from his approach that he's out here, and then he starts running this turn. So he's getting closer to this line. See, the line runs straight out from the standard, and he's just short of that line. So he's technically behind the standard, but he's coming at a really fast angle here and leaning. And so when he comes up and through, there's still some travel down the bar, because there's a component of his speed, which is, running horizontal to the bar. And there's a component of his speed, which is going straight at the bar. And that's what we, learn in physics, that if you're running in a certain direction, you have both an X and a Y value, and he's got some of both. Okay. So as he comes through here, this is a classic argument. I actually got Dwight Stones commenting on a post that I made earlier this year, and we actually got into a brief discussion on foot plant angle. And I said, hey, some people like to plant parallel to the bar. Some people like to plant at a 45. I have since found video of Anika McPherson, who has jumped 2 meters and is only 5'5 3/4" herself. And her foot plant looks like it's almost pointed at the bar like a hurdler. It's amazing. So there's quite a range here that are available. And again, I don't like to be any dogmatic anymore. I've had this happen to me too many times, and I said, I don't think anybody's ever going to do this. And then somebody does it, So I used to think that nobody would be able to scrape their foot and jump higher than, 7, 4, or 5. And I've seen that get obliterated now, knowing, what I've seen on film. I've had people, I watched in person, a young guy from Texas Tech a couple of years ago. I do not know the young jumper's name, but he scraped his foot and jumped 7.5 at the Mount Sac relays back in 2022. This was 2 years ago. And then I watched Fabian Delrid from Sweden sent me a video of himself jumping 7.7, and you can clearly see and hear the foot scrape on the ground. And then someone sent me a video of Charles Austin jumping 7.10.5, breaking the American and Olympic records in the same fell swoop, and he scrapes his foot. And, I wouldn't be surprised if Sotomayor did it from time to time. So, I used to say, I don't think anybody's going to ever do that. And, I should have just kept my mouth shut. So I think the same thing is true here with foot plant angles, because I've seen people jump really, really high, and they're not all doing the same exact things. You might think certain things are better, but maybe a certain foot plant angle works better for a certain body type or a certain speed or a certain arm drive type or knee drive type, whatever. So anyway, his foot plant angle is definitely towards the bar here. He's running downhill. I don't see much curve in this. He does get a good lean back angle, but I'm sure it's a pretty good lean away from the bar as well. But I believe it's more lean back than lean away. And you can watch the torque on his foot there, but he is leaning, because you'll see his foot roll across. So when you see that foot hit on an angle and come down and then go across the other way, that means he was leaning to the inside of the curve. And you can see his shoulders are definitely turned, where his back's going to get to the bar easier. I think he's amazingly flexible, and I think this helps to twist your shoulders a little bit, especially if that foot is pointed at the bar. Now, that helps. If you look right here at toe off, so amazing how fast he comes off the ground, because right here we're going frame by frame. His toe's still on the ground here, and then the next frame he's already 3 inches in the air. He is pretty much straight up and down. His shoulders went across here, but at that speed, he's really very, very close to hitting pure vertical, which is pretty amazing. And he's well away from the bar here. One of my favorite things. He's at least, I'm going to say, based on the length of his foot, you can extrapolate maybe 4 or 5 of those feet from the standard out to him. He's well off the plane of the bar here. That gives him ample time to drive his knee up and across, to leave the ground, and to fly for a while. If you watch him, he is very specifically, I believe, looking down the bar to where he knows that he can throw his head back. Now, I could be wrong. He could be going on an internal count, maybe 1, 2, pop, throw my head down and curl my legs up. And you see in this high, great position. Notice right here, the line between his leg and his other leg. That this is the shank down here of his right leg. So from his ankle to his knee is pointed up and across. And this is an amazing knee up and across, especially at that speed. But he gets it all the way up and across. And it's even more remarkable from the angle that we're looking at for it to still be this pronounced, because it's really a bad angle for that particular thing. So his knee drive up and what I call back into the curve, which is one of the few things that I am still dogmatic about. I believe that you're going to jump higher the better you get at this, the more your back is flat to the bar. There are some people that have jumped very, very high, and Sotomayor is one of them, where he didn't quite get his knee across and he just went up and he kind of went over the bar a little bit sideways. And what do you say? He got away with it. He got away with it. Having watched him in person, he was one of the strongest people I've ever seen high jump. And, he could drive his knee up plenty, and he didn't bring it across that much, but, you're not going to argue with 8.5 feet. So, but anyway, this knee drive up into the bars, up and away from the plane of the bar, is important to stopping that momentum and allowing it to go up. And then you see very quickly hands up over his head. And then I keep telling my high jumpers this: as soon as he's done getting his arms up to help transfer his energy into the takeoff foot and the drive knee coming up and through, as soon as those arms go up, he just starts to bring them right back down. Okay. So if you notice that, it's huge, because he gets, bam, hands over head. And here he's got a little box. I noticed this box before. Now, jumpers that are moving slower might get that arm extended more up and down. If you can see me here I am with my box. My hands are right by my head. And therefore you can see with the elbows bent, it looks like a little square. As I keep moving those arms up, the box gets a little narrower. And eventually I might get my hands apart and be signaling touchdown. I've seen people with their arms straight up and down at takeoff like that. And I've seen some way down here. Okay. Again, variations. Okay. I would like hands higher, but I do recognize that it's very difficult to do that when you're running fast. So if you're a speed guy that's getting a lot of pop out of an angle and a lean back and a quick knee, bang, then those arms aren't going to have time to get up very high. If you're moving slower, you're going to have to drive your arms up high to get air. You can't generate that kind of power without driving your arms up, especially at slow speeds. So here, you see his arms go up quickly and then drop. And he's actually got him back by his hips in that perfect high layout right here. And tremendous rotation. I can't even believe how he stops and bounces forward here. I would think his feet would wash over, but these pits look very springy, and they just stopped all of his momentum and kicked him back. Now, I have seen other times where Barshim will, especially here, I mean, his feet are behind his head. But I've seen him finish the flip where he's landing with his face looking down at the mat. So he's, amazing rotation, just amazing. And I think that's a byproduct of the speed, because when your head stops here, as your foot hits, notice the head just sweeps right across, goes from here to here fast, and it goes right past the feet. And if you notice here, he's at about a 45-degree angle-ish, as he's going up, and he waits again until his head is, if you look right here, his nose is straight up. Okay. The top of his head is pointed straight towards the bar plane. So in my estimation, it would be early to have thrown his head back already, but he hasn't. He didn't throw his head back. His head just went across. He didn't throw his head back, because you'll see when he does it. There. Now he throws his head. And where's his head, top of his head going? Straight down. Now, it takes a second at this high speed to do it, but I think, waits for something. I think he's looking down the bar and waiting. But even right here, he's still not quite at the plane of the bar. And then, but he knows that that speed, it probably is a little speed related. And maybe it is an internal account because, I mean, this is slow motion here and it's not long for him to get up there and then pop his head. It may feel almost immediate. You know, I don't know. One of the things I'm always telling my jumpers is, hey, you know, as the bar goes up, you're gonna have to ride that knee a little longer. You're gonna have to, you know, wait before you engage the layout. If you can picture Barshim's head going back here, that might be too early, you know, even for the tremendous amount of pop he has in this jump. You know, to me, it looks like he waited to just the right time to get his hips going, you know, and it's an amazing, amazing jump again. But so we've covered speed through the curve and the straight, high cycling, boom, boom. Notice his trail leg here, his drive knee. So everybody see that foot right here kicking him in the butt before the knee comes up and across? I believe that's an amazing thing that happens with speed, that if you're running and you're cycling through the curve, it's gonna be really hard for you to slow that down and start kind of pitter pattering your feet. It's not impossible, it can be done, but that will cause you to drag that foot. But notice he brings that foot all the way up to his butt. There's no way that foot's gonna drag on the ground. That makes the knee drive half just high and fast, and I believe leads to a lot of his success. So his layout position is pristine. That's a perfect arc right there. Head and feet on the same level, head going down. So his hips are up here, pointed straight up at 12 o'clock. His nose is over here, pointed at 9 o'clock. Top of his head's down here at 6, and his toes are pointed over here roughly at 3 o'clock. That's a perfect layout position in my estimation. If you can get to where you're still in that position when your head is lower than your feet and your butt is up like they are here, now watch how his feet just kick up and out. They're not anywhere close to dragging on the bar. He's not going to catch his heels here. But spacing is crucial. You know, he is in just the right space, and notice that he was way the hell out here. So he had to wait for a while before he engaged. A lot of jumpers are too close. If you're catching it with your knees, your calves, your ankles, you're probably too close, right? And he has a little bit time to finish this off here. So that is breaking down, again, the great Mutaz Essa Barshim. This isn't one of his highest jumps, but it is a good high jump, obviously. And so just the things of note that I teach and preach: acceleration, full stride length. I think it's a lot easier to figure out what you're doing if you are at full cycle. You can see, you know, one last quick share screen. The thing that I forgot to mention is coming to me now. So here, notice that all these steps on the curve are high cycling. So here's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, starting here. Foot to the butt, step number 1. Foot to the butt, step number 2. Foot to the butt, step number 3. Foot to the butt, there's 4. Now on 5, notice that his shank is here parallel to the ground, and he does not cycle that foot all the way up to his butt. Why, you may ask? He's getting it done quicker. So instead of coming all the way up and around, he's performing what I would call a slide step. Okay, and a lot of the elite jumpers will show this. Notice again the position of the lower leg based on where every other one of these steps were. If you watch his lower leg here, when his foot comes up to his butt, it is past parallel. This is parallel to the ground here, right? Right about there. But he continues pulling that foot towards his butt, so it's kicking him in the butt. Same here's parallel, but notice at full speed, he's going to continue bringing that foot up towards his butt. Here again, okay? That one is slide step-ish, but it's not the one yet. Notice the outside leg goes right past parallel, and it continues foot towards the butt. Right here, it's very pronounced, okay? He is just getting it to parallel, and that's it. It's not going to continue on from there. He's going to get it on the ground, okay? So that is what we call the slide step. You hear a lot of people talking about the penultimate and this and that step. To me, that's the one you can practice this a bunch, and to hear, it almost looks like he jumps there, just a little bit of a jump, what I would call a hop and pop into that. It's very slow. It's very minimal because he's moving so fast. You do not want to jump way up in the air and then come back down, but you can kind of do a little bunny hop right here, which is what he is, just a tiny bit. And another great point here, I mentioned this to Barbara when we first started training, and it's very difficult for speed guys, but he manages to do it. Notice that his 2 steps away from the bar, all these other steps out here, you notice he is cycling like crazy. He's hitting on the balls of his feet. His heels are nowhere near the ground. And boom, right here, he's got 2 steps left. With his right foot, heel strike. You can see the toes are above the heel here. And on the last one, heel strike. Now, again, he's moving really, really fast, and it's not as pronounced as I've seen with some others. I've seen other people where you can definitely see the heel strike and then a roll, okay, through. At higher speeds, as you're getting on the balls of your feet and you're really running fast, it's very hard to all of a sudden slow down and lean back. You don't really want to do that if you're a speed guy. So you can see it's not as pronounced, but I would still venture to say that it's heel toe, heel toe. And part of that is leaning back, because if you notice here, he's straight up and down. He's really running fast forward. And to do that, you need to be leaning forward a little bit. And as he comes right here to the money shot, it is all of a sudden heel toe, which is going to help you lean back. I call it flaps up like an airplane. Okay. So again, the great Barshim, heel toe, great cycling into the knee drive, great non-cycling slide step into the plant step, very quick, explosive arms, and then immediate drop. And then the head goes back, and notice that he pops his hips right there. See the one leg go lower than the other? So he is popping his head back. He's getting his hands to his hips. And then the drive knee is waiting, and then popping down right there. You can see that leg go straight. See how it's bent here? And he pushes it down. Now, the other one, you could say, well, he pushes that one too, but I don't see it. I don't see him pushing the takeoff leg. That doesn't even make sense, right? He's just riding that one out. He curls it up. Now, Javon Harrison, I think, brings both knees up and then pops both hips. But here you can see right there, there's that move where he straightens that leg out. I believe that's a head back and a hip pop at the same time, as well as the hands coming to the hips. So I'm gonna verify that with, I've been telling my jumpers I like all 3 moves: hands to hips, head back, and pop that hip down all at the same time, because it's easier. Doesn't mean that it can't be done in different order, as we've seen with some other jumpers. Javon Harrison has a very unique layout where he brings the takeoff leg up to the drive knee and then pops both hips. And then I can't remember the other guy, but there's one of our jumpers who just won the NC2As from Oklahoma. Forgive me for forgetting your name. And he does that kind of a hitch kick where he kicks one leg and then the other. Never seen that one before. And it's an effective jump, 7.6 in high school and 7.7 in college, won the NC2As. I think it was the indoors a couple of years ago. I'm sure he's going to be at the Olympic trials here this year, I hope. And anyway, all right, so let's close that up again. And that is going to wrap it up here on this edition of Raise the Bar. This is our first Let's Break Down the Great Jumper Day. I'll come up with a better name for it. Remember to subscribe to Raise the Bar on my Sky High and Fly Jump Lab channel on YouTube. And, if you subscribe, that'd be great. And if you also would like to see a certain jumper, or, would like to see yourself analyzed, look at that. I have that on my, I have that scheduled as a service, video analysis. But I want to do these obviously for free. These guys don't need to pay me. They're so good. As we look at the elite jumpers, which some of them have been around for a while, and the cast of characters can change from year to year, from one world championship to the next. And, especially in one Olympic period, 4 years. This is a short one for us because 2021 was the actual game. So it's only 3 years. But I'm sure we will see Barshim and Tamberi and Brandon Stark, hopefully from Australia. And, it'll be some of the same ones. Bondarenko, I'm hoping to see him again. We can't see the great Derek Druin. He's retired, but there's a lot of guys that are kind of stay around. High jumpers have long lives when they're well trained. So, send in those requests, questions, anything about, video analysis, questions about training, these great athletes, questions for your athlete if you're a coach, questions for yourself if you're an athlete. We try to cover everything here from, speed, agility, plyometrics, weights, all kinds of different angles, sports psychology, the mindset of some of these great athletes and what they think about visualization techniques. Okay. So, all right, that's going to close it out for us here. I'm Troy Haines here on Raise the Bar. And this is our first Barshim analysis episode. Great jumper analysis. And we will see you here soon next time on Raise the Bar.